On the night of May 10th, 2024, a mother checking on her child through a Ring camera witnesses something that absolutely terrifies her. Veronica Alba, the person who sent in this footage, explains that she was monitoring her child from another area of the house. She was upstairs getting her 2-year-old settled for bed, while her 4-year-old was downstairs waiting for her to return. But in that window of time, something occurs that Veronica simply cannot account for. Keep in mind, there was nobody else in that house, just Veronica and her 2 kids. See for yourself what her camera picked up.
Yeah. Be careful. It's me, Snoopy. Be careful, don't fall.
Now, Veronica says she had no idea about the screams until well after the fact. It wasn't until she reviewed the camera footage that she actually heard them. According to her, what can be heard is a woman's voice coming from somewhere inside the house, sounding as though she's either sobbing or in serious distress. She doesn't believe the sound originated from outside. Given that the voice appears to reverberate through the walls of her home, the fact that she didn't catch it in the moment is something she still can't wrap her head around. What disturbs her most is that the sound came from downstairs, the exact room where her young child was sitting alone. With no explanation for where that voice came from, she remains deeply uneasy, praying it never happens again. In this footage, a man attempts to document a bizarre occurrence that's been taking place at his home over a period of time. He says that a humanoid shape occasionally shows up in one of the upstairs windows, despite the room being completely unoccupied. One evening, while shooting video from outside, he finally gets it on camera, and what he catches is unsettling. See for yourself.
When you look outside, there will be times when you'll see like a figure in the room, and there'll be no one in here. And I'm gonna try and demonstrate that today. It may not work. Sometimes it doesn't. Let's see what's going in here, just in case it does work. No one in the closet. I know people are gonna debunk this. All right. Alright, so like I said, it just happens to be the right circumstances or whatever. A figure can sometimes be seen outside of the window. And let's see, today... Holy shit, there's actually a figure today. I actually got it on tape, no way. Wow. Holy sh... Okay, alright. Watch, I'm gonna go open the room. I will, hold on. This is what I'm fucking... Guys, this is what I was talking about. Yeah, wow. It happened. Yeah, this is like an anomaly.
There appears to be a dim silhouette standing just behind the glass. Rattled and bewildered, he rushes inside to check it out, only to find the room completely empty. Whatever was there seems to have disappeared without leaving a single trace. Some people watching are convinced this is evidence of a supernatural entity, while skeptics argue that the image could simply be the result of a reflection, a trick of the light, or the angle of the lens. 2 indigenous hunters, Frank and Donald, had ventured into a stretch of wilderness, long believed to be home to a creature their people refer to as Wepia we Mistia Sai, the Walk's tall forest beast. Frank hops on his ATV as darkness closes in, heading out to collect Donald from his tree stand. When he arrives, Donald has vanished, and Frank's @V dies on the spot.
Dawn? Dawn? Shit, man. Just heard something again. Hey! Is that you?
So now he's on foot. Every couple of minutes, a deep, throaty wail tears through the surrounding trees. As he pushes forward, he comes across a freshly severed elk head, and then something even more alarming, an enormous, crude structure built from massive interlocked branches. It dawns on him that he's the one being stalked. The creature comes at him full force. Frank fires and misses, and the impact sends him into a daze. The beast hauls him across the brutal terrain and dumps him into a den littered with the rotting remains of dead animals. Convinced Frank is no longer a threat, it heads back out into the dark. Somehow, against every odd, Frank pulls himself free and disappears into the bitter cold. He walks for a solid 2 hours before stumbling across Donald's hunting bag, just sitting there on the ground with no sign of Donald anywhere. Frank then comes upon what appears to be an above-ground burial site. Laid out across it is the body of a young bipedal creature, and at that moment, the recording cuts off entirely. Frank made it out alive and lived to tell this story. Donald was not as fortunate. On March 12, 2020, a hospital nurse uploaded this footage to Facebook while she and her colleagues were in the middle of their shift. At 1:23 in the morning, the facility's emergency alarm suddenly triggered, sending the entire staff into a frenzy. As everyone scrambled to track down the source of the alarm, the nurse pulled out her phone and hit record, and what she captured in that moment is genuinely unsettling. In the middle of all the commotion, while the staff remained fixated on the blaring alarm, something deeply disturbing becomes visible, a dark shadow repeatedly creeping out from a doorway on the right side of the corridor. The nurse later stated that the room it appeared to be coming from was vacant at the time, and given the size and shape of that shadow, no child of that age was anywhere in the building that night. So, was this nurse unknowingly filming a paranormal presence? Or could there be a rational explanation for what her camera picked up? That question is now. One night, a woman named Lacey got a video sent to her by her sister. The two of them had recently set up a pool and picked up some solar-powered lights so they could enjoy it after dark. Wanting to show off how great it looked all lit up, her sister decided to film it and send the clip over, but something unexpected ended up in the footage. See for yourself what was captured.
You might be able to do it on the plant.
Oh, that looks so cool in there above, too. Oh, that's so cool.
A pale white figure that looks almost ghostly appears to dart around the edge of the pool, yet the only two people present were Lacey's sister behind the camera and her young niece, who can clearly be seen standing there watching the water. What makes it even more unsettling is that this figure appears to move straight through the niece as if she isn't even there. Lacey herself didn't catch it until she actually sat down and watched the video, and when she flagged it to her sister confirmed she hadn't noticed anything unusual while she was standing right there. So what exactly is this a ghost caught on film? Or is there another explanation? Working the night shift alone at a deserted construction site, everything seemed routine to start. The crane's engine droned steadily as he maneuvered it along under the low glow of the site lights. Then, out of nowhere, the machine came to a dead halt, refusing to budge, as though some unseen force had planted itself in its way. Baffled, the operator peered out through the windshield. The stretch of road ahead was completely clear, not a single thing in sight, but the moment he glanced down at the crane's camera display, his stomach dropped. See for yourself. There on the small screen was a dark, humanoid shape standing dead center in front of the vehicle, completely still. He snapped his gaze back up through the glass. Nothing was there. The way ahead looked totally open, yet when his eyes fell back on the monitor, the figure hadn't moved an inch. Shortly after, the crane's entire system went haywire. There are those who chalk it up to nothing more than a technical fault, but plenty of others are firmly convinced that the camera picked up something that the naked eye simply wasn't capable of detecting. A man was spending time at his in-law's home, seated at a computer as he waited for guests to hop on his online podcast. Nothing felt out of the ordinary. The room was still. His equipment was all set up, and he was just killing time until something completely unexpected unfolded, and the whole thing was caught on video.
Yeah, this just happened while I was waiting for my guest to come on for my podcast. Yeah, so not sure what to make of it. There's nothing in there. I'm at my in-laws' house. I've been here for a month. I don't really know. Nothing's ever happened here before, ever, as far as I know. So I am at a loss as to what the hell that just was. Yeah.
The closet door directly behind him starts to slowly swing open by itself. He picks up on it almost instantly and is clearly rattled, struggling to make sense of what just happened. The home belongs to his in-laws, and he mentioned he'd been staying there for more than a month at that point. In all that time, he said, not a single strange or unusual thing had ever occurred until now. So what's your take? Did this guy genuinely record something that can't be explained? Or is there a perfectly reasonable answer hiding somewhere in this footage? Drop your thoughts below. A TikTok creator who goes by Jazzy recently uploaded a string of videos that immediately grabbed my attention. Jazzy is a first-time mom to a baby boy, but she's been noticing some unsettling things showing up on her baby monitor lately. One evening, while checking her camera's live feed, she realized her sleeping son wasn't alone. Something is hovering near the edge of the crib, slowly drifting closer and closer toward the child. Understandably rattled, Jazzy watched as the orb remained visible on camera for a full 24 minutes, but what she didn't realize was that the nights ahead would bring something even more disturbing. While her son lay sound asleep, it suddenly looked as though something jerked his legs right out from beneath him. Miraculously, the baby barely stirred, yet Jazzy couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. Then the very next night, there was a knock at the door. What we're seeing here is something that appears to seize the baby's foot and pull him toward the edge of the crib, jolting him awake and startling his mom in the process. The movement looks like an unseen force has a firm hold on the child, and the moment Jazzy saw this footage, it sent a wave of chills straight through her. She hasn't allowed her son to sleep in that room since, and honestly, who could blame her? In July 2025, a woman by the name of Sarah uploaded a clip that spread rapidly across the internet. She's employed at a nursing facility where she and her coworkers say they've been experiencing eerie, potentially paranormal events. On one particular occasion, while making her way alone through the seldom used basement level, Sarah got the overwhelming feeling that something had its eyes on her. She took out her phone and hit record. What showed up in that footage was absolutely chilling.
¿Se están escuchando muchos ruidos? Oigan, ¿de dónde viene ese ruido? Se escucha como que gritaran, como si hablaran. No es nadie. Pues se escucha que grita. Creo que es de acá. Oiga. Oiga. Oiga.
If you turn up the volume and pay close attention, you'll catch a voice murmuring the words, "I see you."
Oiga.
The tone is icy, almost uncomfortably personal. Sarah stopped dead in her tracks, looking around frantically, but there was nobody else in sight. Then, not even 30 seconds after that, things took an even stranger turn.
Que caminan, que hablan. ¿Qué podrá ser? Ay, ¿qué podrá ser? ¡Ay, no! ¿Qué es eso? ¡Ay, no! Ahora sí, mire algo. No puede ser. No puede ser, ¿escucharon? Ahora sí sentí que alguien me tocó de verdad. Tengo que ir. No abre el pinche elevador. Les había dicho que se escucha mucho ruido. Voy a tener que ir por mi hija. ¡Abre! No abre.
A residential security camera recorded a puzzling incident just before 8 in the morning. Initially, everything looked completely ordinary, but then something strange materialized within the shadowy area of the room. See for yourself what unfolds. A luminous shape abruptly blinked into existence before disappearing just as fast, gone in the blink of an eye. Only moments later, a man entered the room, seemingly drawn in by something he'd heard or felt, and began scanning his surroundings. But just as he was searching for answers, that same glowing shape made a second appearance. He continued combing through the space for a little while longer, yet walked away without finding anything that could account for what had happened. Once the footage made its way online, speculation exploded in the comments. Some viewers suggested the whole thing could be chalked up to LED lighting, a faulty sensor, or some kind of reflection bouncing off the camera lens. Others, however, were convinced that the camera had inadvertently caught an unseen entity trying to make itself visible in that very moment. So is there something genuinely unexplainable going on here? Drop your thoughts below, we'd really like to know what you make of it. In Saudi Arabia, jinn are widely believed to take up residence in desolate, crumbling structures scattered across the desert. Abdullah's friends dared him to go live on camera from an abandoned neighborhood, with a notorious reputation for exactly that. He took them up on it, and what unfolded out there is something he'll never be able to shake. See for yourself what his camera picked up.
Bismillah. 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 Hey! أعوذ بالله. أعوذ بالله.
Viewers watched in real time as Abdullah unknowingly documented 3 separate jinn lurking throughout the building. The first slipped past him completely and had been staring straight at him through a small window without him ever noticing. Then, a second one edges out from behind a wall, and you can practically feel the dread hit him. As he pushes deeper into the structure, a third one locks eyes with him and tracks his movement before letting out a deeply unsettling growl, sending Abdullah sprinting straight back to his car. Now, I'll be honest, even with how isolated this place is, I can't fully rule out a more grounded explanation. It's entirely possible these are just people holed up in an empty building. But the behavior, the movement, and especially those sounds, the whole thing has a genuinely disturbing energy to it. One thing's for certain, Abdullah won't be setting foot anywhere near that place again. Syria-Jordan border is one of the most heavily monitored stretches of land in the Middle East, sitting between 2 nations with deeply unstable histories. Military drones patrol the area around the clock, scanning for illegal crossings or any signs of armed aggression. But in 2021, one of those surveillance drones picked up something nobody was prepared for. The footage appears to capture an object moving in wide circular patterns high above the border region, glowing intensely on the drone's infrared sensors. Investigative journalist Jeremy Corbell brought this footage to public attention in early 2026 and wasted no time getting it in front of specialists across the globe. One of those specialists, Marek von Rennenkamp, a former analyst with the US Bureau for International Security, described it as the most remarkable piece of footage he had ever encountered in his career. What makes it so striking is what appears to be instantaneous acceleration. The object abruptly speeds up and decelerates in ways that follow no recognizable flight pattern, almost as though it's being guided by some kind of intelligence. It also bears no resemblance to any conventional aircraft or known military drone currently in existence, which has led both Corbell and von Rennenkamp Pfeff to classify it as an AWAP, an unidentified anomalous phenomenon, possibly of extraterrestrial origin. And what comes next is enough to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. In 2024, urban exploration duo The Proper People made their way into the derelict Millard Fillmore Hospital in Buffalo, New York, a sprawling complex whose history stretches all the way back to 1909, when it first opened under the name Buffalo Homeopathic Hospital. By 1923, the facility had been rechristened in honor of President Millard Fillmore and grown into a multi-building campus representing over 100 years of evolving medical construction. The hospital shut its doors in 2010. Its mid-century wings were torn down by 2015, leaving only the oldest portions of the complex still standing when the duo stepped inside.
We're exploring an abandoned hospital in Buffalo, New York. The original structure was built in 1909, and by 1911, the complex was established as the Buffalo Homeopathic Hospital. It was originally designed to accommodate 150 beds. In 1923, the name was changed to the Millard Fillmore Hospital. Throughout the years, many extensions and modifications were made to enlarge the bed count and keep the hospital facilities modern. In 2010, the hospital was closed, and the mid-century structures were demolished by 2015. Join us as we explore what remains.
first stop on their walkthrough was the nursing school, where classrooms appeared virtually untouched since before the closure. Stepping into one of those rooms, they came across a shattered chalkboard, and what they learned about it completely reframed every abandoned school they'd ever set foot in.
Interesting. The chalkboard is shattered.
It's on glass.
And it's on glass. I never knew that about chalkboards.
That's not a normal thing.
It's not a normal thing?
No.
Yeah, that's definitely glass. And then this side is the chalkboard side, and this side is just like normal glass.
Wow, the board wasn't slate at all, it was constructed from glass. Neither of them had ever encountered a glass chalkboard before that moment, and they spent several minutes on camera flipping it around just to be sure of what they were looking at. It almost resembles a cafeteria, with drywall materials stacked around and thick mold covering everything.
Yellow tiling up here. That looks kind of nice. Is this for ironing or something?
From there, they moved through a basement corridor connecting to the older medical wing, a passageway so thick with airborne mold that they had to locate an exit fast. Once inside the main building, they spotted extension cords running into wall outlets and lights that were actively on. Despite the facility sitting abandoned, somebody was clearly still making use of certain areas.
This looks like a record-keeping area. Got all the mail slots.
Hospice chairs back here.
What kind of chairs?
Hospice chairs.
I'm gonna just take the first staircase up and see.
Yeah. We gotta get out of here. It's really bad.
Gross.
Interesting that there's power on in here.
No way, there's power?
Yeah.
What'd you see?
On this cord over here.
What could that be going to? So this is plugged in here.
The lights are on over here.
That extension cord is going to something. We'll go up for now. We'll come back.
The further they ventured into the lab sections, the more discarded equipment they kept turning up. Then, they arrived at the door they'd made a point of tracking down.
Here's the hyperbaric chamber. I heard about this. USS Beer. Basically, it was just a pressurized capsule. Yeah. And the high air pressure plus a very oxygen-rich environment was used to treat a variety of medical things. Shall we go in?
Sure.
So I guess it was like 2-stage pressurization, maybe. Gradually
what
get
it
up
is.
to it. Do these doors still swivel? Yup.
Should I block?
Don't do it. Sitting preserved inside one of the rooms was an enormous hyperbaric pressure chamber, the kind of 2-stage, high-pressure capsule designed to treat patients by immersing them in oxygen-rich conditions at elevated pressure. They went ahead and climbed in.
Alright. Can we actually get it to move?
I don't know. I feel like this is... Yeah.
There it goes. It was in the lock position already.
Yeah.
Okay, then you have the second door. Wow. This is cool. This is like the same exact thing they would have on a oil rig before they do dives and stuff.
There's a gauge here that says feet of seawater.
Really? They probably just purchased this for like a maritime use and repurpose it as medical use.
Probably. There's a really cool logo on the gauge.
There's another one here. Is it Royland over there too? 250 feet of seawater.
250 feet of seawater, yeah.
So they've got masks, a little sink. I wonder what that was for. Like a mini pressure capsule that you could put stuff through. Maybe you can open it on that end also. That's how you could get stuff in and out without unpressurizing the whole thing.
That's when they noticed something off about the gauges mounted on the interior walls. The readings weren't displayed in standard clinical pressure units, they were calibrated in feet of seawater. The chamber appeared to have originally been built for maritime applications, potentially sourced from an oil rig diving program before being repurposed for hospital use.
Don't close it all the way, but like put it somewhat close for a simulation of what it's like in here. Wow. It got real quiet.
There's like double door layers that would go on this wall.
Yeah. It looks like they would hit each other. They must not. Yeah, that's supposed to be the other way. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to go. Alright, we get it.
It's interesting.
Hyperbaric office. Oh, it's NOAA diving program. So it could have had something to do with diving training, maybe. I don't know. I don't think they would use a hospital for that. They probably have their own facilities.
No,
It was probably dual purpose.
There was a research center here. That's probably was.
Yeah. I think they did use these for decompression sickness.
Adjacent to the chamber, they discovered a control room outfitted with black and white monitors, dive timers, and warning placards that referenced ascent and descent as though the patients inside were literally submerging. A NOAA diving program plaque fixed to the wall confirmed the chamber's connection to a research facility, suggesting it had been used for diver training, as well as treating decompression sickness.
Here's the control system. What are these? Black and white monitors, probably for graphs.
Yeah, this is definitely geared towards divers. Everything says feet of seawater, dive timer. Here's the pass-through thing. I guess that would work as long as one side is closed. Air compressors are on, emergency power generators. Oh, because if they lost power and they lost pressure too fast, they could get decompression sickness. If fire exists, abort dive and bring chamber.
Deeper in the lab area, they came across bottles still wearing their original labels. Cold storage refrigerators packed with sample fridges stacked inside larger ones, glassware arranged across every counter, and workstations left in precisely the condition they were in on the hospital's final day of operation.
Wow, yeah, these labs are cool. A lot of stuff still left in them.
Okay. Stacks of equipment.
Those like syringe type things. I guess we're going up. Some more labs, but they look messed up. wall-to-wall stuff, though. Bottles of chemicals. So much left behind. Cream challenge.
This must be where they kept cold samples.
Jewett Refrigerator Co. Kind of looks like more cooler doors over there.
They're not.
Just a little too big.
They're just more fridges inside the fridge. Probably for things that have to be kept at specific temperatures. They're all full of different liquids.
Then they crossed into a section of the building that was fully illuminated by brand new lighting fixtures. The place had been sitting empty for more than a decade, yet someone had recently gone through and installed fresh lights throughout that entire wing, a quiet signal that redevelopment plans might already be in motion, even if nothing had been made public.
It's all lit up here. That's so strange.
It's like new lights too.
Yeah. Maybe they're getting ready to do something with this
Big
place.
room here.
Most of the hospital had long since been reduced to rubble. What remained was a 115-year-old structure still waiting on a decision that no one had bothered to announce home to a maritime hyperbaric chamber, lab equipment suspended in time, and newly strung lights glowing inside a building the public wasn't supposed to know anyone was thinking about. A woman says she has spent months living alongside a deeply unsettling presence within the walls of her own home. By her account, everything started without warning on what should have been an ordinary night. She was standing in the kitchen getting dinner ready when, completely out of nowhere, something inexplicable unfolded right before her. Multiple objects suddenly launched into violent motion, almost as though a fierce burst of wind had torn through the space. Yet the woman insists that every window and door in the house was shut tight at the time. No drafts, no openings, nothing in the environment that could reasonably explain what she witnessed. And just when things already felt terrifying enough, they managed to get worse. A few nights later, deep into the evening, an unusual sound drifted in from the hallway, and she felt compelled to go check it out. She crept carefully through the house, trying to track down the source of the noise, but the moment her eyes landed on that hallway, she came face to face with what she describes as one of the most horrifying experiences of her entire life. In the wake of those events, the woman mounted security cameras all around the house, hoping to finally gather concrete evidence of whatever force was at work. But she says the activity didn't slow down. On the contrary, it picked up in frequency, grew more intense, and became increasingly difficult to dismiss. So, what is actually going on inside this home? Is there a rational explanation that simply hasn't been uncovered yet? Or is this woman genuinely sharing her space with some invisible, otherworldly entity? Whatever the answer turns out to be, most viewers seem to agree on one thing at some point. Capturing it on camera won't be enough. Getting out might be the only real option before whatever this is escalates further. February 25th, 2025. A man by the name of Tavo uploaded footage his grandfather had captured a brief encounter between a heron and a companion that starts out ordinary and ends in a way that'll make you deeply regret leaning in. See for yourself.
God, be careful, Bab.
It was a Tuesday afternoon during a family get-together when a shadow materialized behind the thin curtains right up against the window pane, not out on the street, not in a building across the way, but pressed directly against the glass. The two women instinctively stepped back, convinced they were staring at an intruder attempting to force their way in, but what unfolded in the moments that followed is the part nobody has been able to shake. This is where things get unsettling.
God, be careful, Bab. Oh my God.
They yanked the curtain aside, ready to face whoever was standing there, and found absolutely nothing. Not a soul. The area beyond that window was entirely vacant. According to Tabo, that's precisely what sets this apart from a simple case of misread shadows or a startled imagination. Something had been visibly, undeniably present, and then, in the fraction of a second it took to draw back that curtain, it had simply ceased to be there. No retreating footsteps, nobody sprinting away just to avoid where something had been standing mere moments before. It's now been well over a year since this footage first surfaced, and in all that time, not a single explanation has emerged that genuinely holds water. So I'll leave you with the same question that's been haunting everyone who's seen it: what exactly was standing there? YouTube channel Finsk Dashcam typically uploads fairly ordinary footage from the creator's everyday drive to and from work. But one particular recording ended up drawing far more attention than anything else on the channel, thanks to a strange encounter that still hasn't been fully explained. At some point during the drive, the motorist had to veer into the next lane over after spotting something blocking his path ahead. Pulling closer, he discovered that the obstruction was actually an elderly woman, standing right in the middle of the road. What made things even more unsettling was how she was acting. She stood completely still and gave absolutely no response to the car bearing down on her. She didn't glance over, shift her body, or give any indication whatsoever that she was aware of the approaching vehicle. According to the dashcam recording, she didn't even make a move to get out of the way. A thin coating of snow blanketed the road surface and the cars around her, pointing to a recent snowfall in the area. Yet the woman's clothing appeared almost entirely free of any accumulation. This gave the strong impression that she had only just appeared there seconds before. The driver decelerated and edged toward her carefully. The footage, however, ends abruptly before we get to see what unfolded, or whether the driver ever managed to learn why she was out there alone. The whole incident remains a mystery to this day, and people are still debating it in the comments. Our first clip comes from a YouTube channel called Ajipedua Langan, and it documents a deeply unsettling run out in the middle of nowhere. The footage follows a jeep and a companion as they make their way along a river, when something out of the ordinary catches their attention in the water. Within seconds, they pick up on the frantic sounds of distressed livestock nearby. They sprint toward the commotion, only to discover some kind of creature tangled up with the animals. What the camera captures appears to be a dense, matted clump of hair wrapped around the livestock. A jeep and his friend work frantically to pull the animal free, and after a struggle, the creature finally releases its grip and retreats in the direction of the river. It vanishes completely, leaving nothing behind except a heavy, unsettling atmosphere. The creature never fully reveals itself beyond that mass of hair, but a jeep believes what they encountered was a water ghost.
Uy, ni. Diyan ni. Balik suka itu. Ayo, lewat mana? Lewat sini aja. Ini susahnya kalau ke kandang kambing itu ke sungai ini.
The opening video tonight comes from Hammock Mountain, an outdoor adventure channel run by a guy named Daniel who seeks out remote, off the beaten path locations and makes camp in spots most people wouldn't even slow down for. He has a specific fascination with places that carry a dark historical weight, the kind of locations where local legends have a way of spreading far beyond the county line. The footage speaks for itself. So let's get into it. November 3rd, 2025, Mercer County, West Virginia. Daniel beds down in his truck near an abandoned amusement park with a documented history of fatal accidents that people in the area are still talking about, generations later. His agenda is straightforward: walk the grounds, film whatever he comes across, and spend the night without drawing attention. The darkness, however, has its own agenda.
I'm going to take you all on a walk around this abandoned amusement park. See what we can see. It's pretty wild. There's houses right across the street over there. If you see the lights in the background, there's houses pretty close. But right behind me is the Ferris wheel. I know you can't see it, but I'll take you up there in a minute. We're going to look around, see what we can see. I'm going to keep it kind of quiet around here because I don't want to alert anybody next door, maybe in the houses or whatever, but we're going to look and see what we can find. They say this place is haunted. I was walking through here a little while ago and I saw something that was pretty spooky. So when I get over there, I'll tell you about it. But let's turn around and see if we can take a look at this amusement park, specifically the swing and the Ferris wheel.
He steps out of the truck for a late night sweep of the property. Dead quiet. Residential houses sit just across the road, and the absolute last thing he needs is someone calling it in. Overgrown trails wind past crumbling structures and eventually bring him face to face with the skeletal silhouette of an enormous Ferris wheel. Corroded steel cutting into a pitch black sky. Vines wrapped around the support beams like the earth itself is trying to reclaim what was left behind.
Why did my light just go out? And it came right back on. That was strange.
On his way back from the old settler grave marker, a loud, heavy splash detonates from the lake directly at his back. He whips the flashlight around toward the water. Perfectly still surface. No ripples, no rings, no disturbance of any kind to account for a sound that size. Something with real weight just entered that water, and the water is acting like nothing happened.
And it's back on. I did not. Oh, wait a minute. I may go to a different light. Okay, we'll just leave it there. All right, that's one of the old swings where it swings around and around, and you get in the little swings down here, the seats, and as it turns, then you swing way out. Well, what happened, the girl in the pink dress was swinging on this swing, and a Coca-Cola truck was in here delivering drinks and sodas.
He moves toward the rusted swing ride, the site of one of the park's most frequently discussed tragedies. His flashlight cuts out for the second time. 2 failures, both happening at spots tied to the same grim chapter of this park's past. He's clocking the pattern now, whether he wants to or not. Absolutely no wind, dead calm in every direction, and yet a single object on one specific seat begins to sway on its own. He pans the camera across every other swing, every dangling piece of loose material, a nearby pinwheel, all of it motionless. One seat in motion, everything surrounding it completely frozen. The physics simply don't work, and he's fully aware of that.
It wasn't even spinning a while ago. It was just sitting there swinging back and forth. Hello. I'm not getting any closer to that. I'm sorry. So it goes from swinging back and forth to spin. Oh, don't look at me. It looks like a little dog with a blanket. Okay, I'm out of here. I'm going back to my hammock on the other side of the lake.
He edges in for a closer look. Not his wisest move. Tremendous footage though. The swaying transitions into fast, deliberate spinning. That's as close as he gets. There are moments where you don't need an explanation, you just need to put distance between yourself and whatever that was. He abandons his plan to hike 3/4 of a mile out to the burial grounds in the pitch dark, which, given everything that's already happened, is honestly the most sensible call of the entire night. Back in the hammock, something grazes past him while he's trying to sleep, but he makes it through to daylight regardless. Coffee at Misty Lake, a quiet departure before anyone with a badge shows up asking questions. 2 flashlight failures at historically significant spots. An unexplained splash from a glassy, undisturbed lake. A swing moving alone in completely still air before escalating into something rhythmic and deliberate none of it should fit together. And yet, somehow every piece connects. That one got a little too real. One evening in Peru, 2 officers were midway through an uneventful shift when a desperate voice crackled over their radio. The caller was barely coherent. Through fragmented sentences and labored breathing, he described something inhuman moving along a stretch of nearby coastline. Whatever he'd witnessed had shaken him badly enough to reach out to law enforcement in a state of sheer panic. The officers drove out at once, but upon reaching the shore, they found absolutely nothing. No people, no lights, just a vast expanse of black sand stretching out beneath the bitter night air, while invisible waves broke somewhere out in the dark.
Escuchan unos gritos. ¿O por qué esa vaina? Los gritos, siguen escuchando los gritos. En el fondo, ¿no? Hay una persona abajo. Voy a identificarla. Anda, jefe, ¿qué es esa bobada? Va a pedirle su DNI, cholo. Vas a ver. A ver, si no sabemos si es la llorona o el llorón. Pero, o una llorona cruzada con llorón, pero grita y grita, pues no sabemos qué. Se la procede a identificar. Está metiendo al...
Oh, señor, identifíquese. Señor. Identifíquese, señor.
¿Están escuchando, compañeros?
Señor, identifíquese. Señor.
Copiando.
Señor, identifíquese. Señor. Señor. Identifíquese, señor.
¿Están escuchando, compañeros?
Señor, identifíquese. Señor.
Copiando.
Señor, identifíquese. Señor.
The moment the officer climbed out of the vehicle and ran his flashlight along the beach, a series of piercing shrieks tore through the silence. The sound bounced off the empty shoreline like something or someone was experiencing unbearable agony. That's when his eyes landed on it. Far down the beach stood a pale, semi-transparent shape, completely motionless, almost resembling a person. It appeared to be a woman dressed in a flowing gown, faintly illuminated by his flashlight beam. For several long seconds, it remained frozen, seemingly staring back at him. Then, without a whisper of movement or sound, the figure dissolved into the surrounding darkness, as though it had never existed. So what was it that this officer actually came face to face with out there on that beach? Back in July 2008, a pair of friends were out tossing a football around when one of them spotted an unusual figure lurking in the distance. They moved in to get a closer look at the spot, where it had been standing only to find nothing there at all. See for yourself what they managed to capture.
¿Cuál, güey?
¿Eso no sabes lo que pasó?
No mames, no sé, güey. A ver, vamos a ver.
Ahora sí. De allá nos cayó el duende.
Ah, ¿cuál duende? No mames, aquí ha de estar escondido, a ver. No me agarres de la playera, güey, no te asustes. No mames.
The low-resolution footage does make it somewhat simpler to pull off a fake, admittedly, even so. A huge number of people were genuinely unsettled the first time they watched it. Racking up well over 1 million views since it was uploaded, this clip has clearly left a lasting mark on a lot of viewers. And if you entertain the idea that it might actually be real, the question of what that figure could possibly be becomes pretty disturbing. Some kind of humanoid entity, perhaps? That's for you to determine. The following video was recorded during the day by a woman who is already on edge before the clip even begins. According to her own description, she is not reacting to a single incident, but to something she has been seeing intermittently since she was a teenager, something she says has appeared across multiple years and never quite behaves the same way twice. The camera is pointed toward a second-floor window area, and at first glance, nothing appears unusual, until something shifts. Watch. A dark shape appears near the edge of the window area and moves in a way that immediately feels difficult to place. She explains that there is no physical space outside that section of the window where anything could reasonably walk or stand. No balcony, no ledge, no walkway that would allow a person or object to appear in that position. That detail is what has kept this footage circulating among viewers, because it removes the simplest explanation of someone physically passing by. In her own words, she first began noticing this shadow when she was around 14 years old. Over time, she says it appeared intermittently, never consistently, sometimes disappearing for years before returning again without warning. The most recent sighting she mentions was in 2019, during a period when she was living with her young dog and her grandmother. She adds something particularly unsettling about that time. According to her, her grandmother, in her final months, also saw a black shadow inside the house. In various cultural beliefs, shadow-like presences are often associated with omens, transitional states, or entities that exist on the edge of perception, appearing more frequently during emotionally charged periods in a person's life. So why is she seeing what her grandmother saw? The following video was recorded by a woman who says she ended up in what's considered the most haunted room of a building entirely by accident, alone, at night, with no one else around. She had a camera and a silver Panasonic digital voice recorder with her, and from the moment she stepped inside, something felt off.
If there's anything you'd like to say, feel free. Thought I heard something over there. Is there anyone up here with me? Am I alone in here? Am I safe in here? I'm gonna stop the recording. I had a weird deja vu. Oh, Jesus.
Feel free. Thought I heard something over there. Is there anyone up here with me? Am I alone in here? Am I safe in here?
Thank you. Oh, Jesus.
Feel free. Thought I heard something over there. Is there anyone up here with me? Am I alone in here? Am I safe in here?
What the recorder picks up is described as an EVP, an electronic voice phenomenon, a faint, distorted whisper that sounds unmistakably like the words, "Go back." And almost immediately after, a satanic book on the second shelf from the top falls flat on its own, landing with a loud, clear thump. Nothing touches it. If you watch the shelf in the moments before it happens, everything is completely still. No vibration, no one nearby, no obvious cause. EVP recordings like this one have divided people for decades. Skeptics argue that audio pareidolia, the brain's tendency to find patterns in noise, can make random sounds seem like words, especially when you're already on edge in a dark room. But others point out that the voice and the physical event happen almost simultaneously, which is harder to write off as coincidence. A disembodied voice telling him to leave, followed immediately by a book launching itself off a shelf. Whether that's a warning, a response, or something else entirely, you decide. Before we head back in, one quick thing. All of our videos are now on Spotify, so if that's where you tend to be late at night, every compilation we've made is sitting there waiting for you. Watch it however you'd rather watch it. The link's in the bio. Now, back to the video. The following video was recorded by a man who works at a cemetery, and if that detail alone doesn't set the tone for everything that follows, what he found inside the storage shed on a Tuesday morning certainly will. He'd set up an experiment the night before, spreading sweeping compound across the concrete floor of the garage, a dusty mixture of pink and white powder, and left a yellow tennis ball resting inside a white plastic spool on the workbench. The idea was simple. If something was moving through that space at night, the powder would catch it. He unlocks the shed door and steps in, and almost immediately, just as he's walking through, he stops mid-step. He thinks he hears his name being whispered. He calls out, gets no answer, and keeps moving, until he looks down at the floor. Watch.
Oh, ball's out there. The ball's out there. We got prints. Holy shit, we got them. We got prints. Work bag out there. Okay. So we got prints. There's definitely prints in there. Look at that. What the hell? It's harder to see in the gray compound, but you can clearly see it in the pink. And the ball's just sitting there. The ball was up in that spool. That white spool was inside there when I left. And now the ball's here. Are you trying to tell me you want to play? What the hell was that? So I see your prints. I'm gonna have a camera shortly here. And I'm gonna... No, I don't even want to tell him. Look at that. Guys, look at that. Kinda looks like... That middle part seems to be a little extended there. It's kind of rude. And there's like nothing leading out or in. That is wild. Guys, I can't wait to get this camera installed. It should be here any day. We can actually witness the prints forming.
What he found is hard to dismiss. Deep in the pink powder are several sets of cloven, hoof-like prints. 2 long pointed ovals pressed side by side, clear and well defined. And the yellow tennis ball that had been sitting inside the spool on the workbench is now on the floor next to the powder, with nothing in the dust to indicate how it got there. No drag marks, no trail, no prints leading in or out, just the impressions, appearing as though something dropped directly onto the powder and then vanished. Skeptics argue the prints could have been staged, pressed by hand or foot before the powder was set, but the shape doesn't match a human hand or any common animal track. Others took a different view entirely, pointing to the cloven shape and what it implies. In Christian and Abrahamic tradition, the hoofprint is one of the oldest visual associations with demonic presence, an image so deeply embedded in Western religious folklore that it's hard to look at those prints in a cemetery shed and not feel the weight of that symbolism. He comes back to the same shed not long after, this time trying to capture something he says he's already witnessed, a door inside the garage swinging open and closed on its own. He taunts whatever's in the room, tells it to go ahead and do it. Watch.
Oh, I tried catching it, guys. This door was just swinging back and forth. Open, closed, open, closed. I don't think I caught it in time. Oop. Go ahead and do it. Holy shit. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
The white door, which moments earlier he opened by hand, begins to swing shut on its own from a fully open position, moving at a slow and completely steady pace before latching closed with a solid click. No sudden gust, no visible string, no mechanism on the frame. He just stands there for a moment and then says quietly, "Holy shit." Then, and this is the part that stays with you, he thanks it. Whatever he's dealing with in that shed, he seems to believe it's listening. And based on everything the powder caught the night before, it's not hard to understand why. The following clips were all recorded by the same woman, and across each one, you can see a situation that's been quietly unraveling over what sounds like days. Sleep deprivation, that persistent feeling of being watched, and a growing sense that whatever is in her home isn't keeping to itself anymore. It starts with her waking up on the couch one night, convinced something had been staring at her while she slept. Unsettled, she went back through the footage on her security camera. a topo model mounted in her living room, and found something she wasn't expecting. She's visibly tearful when she pulls it up, her voice shaking as she describes the feeling she'd had. Watch.
Guys, I'm actually so freaked out right now. Last night I fell asleep early on the couch and I just felt like something was in here, like staring at me the whole time. And when I woke up, I decided to check the footage on my cameras. Let me show you this, guys. Did you see my bedroom door? I actually have no idea what to do right now.
Right there in her room, a closed door slowly swings open on its own. No one near it, no breeze, no explanation. It happens quietly, almost carefully, which is somehow worse than if it had slammed. Some viewers think it's air pressure or latch that didn't catch fully. Others point out that doors swinging open in the middle of the night while someone sleeps nearby fall into a pattern described in a lot of attachment cases. A presence testing the space, moving closer incrementally. She ends the clip asking what she's supposed to do. That question starts to feel more urgent in the next one. Days later, she's back on camera explaining her current situation. Listen closely.
Hey guys. Things are still happening. I'm still not sleeping at all at night. Try to catch up on my sleep during the day. I'm starting to hear voices, like people that I feel like I know, just in my house at random places, and I feel like I'm seeing things that aren't there, and I just... Oh my god. That cup just flew right off my nightstand. What the?
Mid-sentence, a loud crash erupts from off-camera to her right, and she physically flinches, the camera lurching sideways with her, before she turns back, wide-eyed, and says a cup just flew off her nightstand. The word flew is what a lot of people latched onto in the comments. Not fell, not slid, flew. Objects moving on their own are common enough in reported cases that they get dismissed quickly, but the combination here, her deteriorating sleep, the voices, and now physical activity escalating in her immediate space, lines up with what some researchers describe as a progressive haunting, where the activity starts subtle and becomes harder to ignore as time passes. Whatever's happening, it seems to be getting bolder, and then, in the most recent clip, she's moved to a different part of the house, upstairs this time, and a new problem has started. Watch.
Guys, I am so freaking scared right now. For the last couple days, I've been hearing tapping on my window, but today it's gotten louder and more consistent. And I don't know what it is. I'm on the second floor. There should be... Nobody should be able to tap on my window. I don't have any trees. I don't have any balcony anyway for them to get... I just don't know what to do. See, there's no one out here. And I went outside and I can hear the tapping from outside too. I just want to show you guys how high my window is from the ground. And I can still hear the tapping from out here.
3 sharp taps, distinct and deliberate, land on the glass while she's pointing the camera toward it. And then when she goes outside to show how high the window actually is from the ground, the tapping starts again. Audible even from the yard. You can hear it. There's nothing near that window. Skeptics will reach for birds or insects, but the consistency she's describing, days of it, louder each time, now audible from 2 locations simultaneously, makes that harder to hold on to. For people who follow cases like this, the pattern across all 3 clips tells a story of something expanding its presence. First the door, then objects in her immediate space, and now the exterior of the home, like something mapping out its territory, one boundary at a time. Now, in this next clip, 2 men are exploring what appears to be an abandoned building at night, with only flashlights and a phone camera cutting through the darkness. The space is silent in the way only empty buildings can be silent, where every small sound feels amplified and every step seems to echo longer than it should. Dust covers the floors, debris is scattered along the corridors, and the atmosphere carries that uneasy stillness that makes people instinctively speak in lower voices without realizing it. One of the men begins reciting Ayat al-Kursi, a verse from the Quran traditionally used as a form of spiritual protection and reassurance in moments of fear or uncertainty. His voice becomes the only steady sound in the building as they move forward, as though he is trying to anchor himself against whatever might be present in the dark around them. Then, something responds. Listen closely.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله سم بالله الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم محمد الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم في حد لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله تأخذني معك بسم الله له ما في السماء بسم الله في الأرض بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا بسم الله اطلع من
At first, it is subtle, almost easy to dismiss as part of the building settling. But as the audio continues, a low growling sound becomes noticeable, distinct enough that both the pacing and tone feel out of place with anything natural in the environment. It does not resemble wind, machinery, or structural movement, and it appears to come from somewhere within the same space they are occupying rather than from outside. In many cultural and religious interpretations, recitation in abandoned or spiritually charged locations is often described as a form of confrontation, where unseen presences are believed to either retreat, resist, or reveal themselves when exposed. So, what responded that night? You decide. The following video was recorded by a man named Isaac, who recently moved into a house that has been passed down through several generations of his family. On the surface, it seems like a typical old home. Quiet, somewhat isolated, and filled with the kind of history that comes with buildings that have stood for decades. But once you learn what happened there long before Isaac arrived, the story begins to feel far more unsettling. The original owner of the house was a war veteran. After returning from combat, he reportedly struggled heavily with PTSD, and family members say there were nights when he would suddenly leave the house and hide outside, convinced he was hearing noises coming from a small shed in the backyard. He insisted something was in there, something moving and sometimes watching. Over time, his fear of that shed grew so intense that he eventually refused to go anywhere near it. Even during the daytime, he would avoid walking past it. Years later, Isaac says that same shed is the one place on the property that never feels right. From his bedroom window, he claims he has occasionally seen figures moving inside it. Other nights, he hears loud banging coming from the shed door, like something inside is trying to force its way out. One morning, while recording a video to answer questions from viewers about the house, something strange happened. Watch this.
I've been seeing all the comments, I've been seeing all the questions, and I wanted to make a video to answer those questions for you guys now. It's about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. I can't sleep. So I figured, why not, right? So on to the first question. What happened to the video? Y'all hear that, right? Like that. Y'all see that?
If you look closely at the window behind him, a white figure briefly appears, then suddenly moves out of sight. And not long after that, something else happens. The door slowly opens on its own, even though no one else is there. Moments like that made viewers even more curious about the shed itself, so many began asking Isaac to go inside and check it out. Watch this.
Okay, so you guys have been asking me to take you in the shed and leave the phone in there. And I know it's been a little while since I put out a video regarding the shed, but a lot has been happening and I just truly needed some time. So I took it. But just to show you, it is locked, okay? And I'm going to immediately, no cuts, as per usual. Okay, so we are walking into, God, these dolls are creepy. We're gonna walk in, well, not walk in, but we're in here now. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and set this up. You guys got a good view, right? Windows, everything. All right, I guess I'll catch y'all. I'm out.
While Isaac is filming, a noise suddenly comes from one of the plastic containers, a sound that almost resembles a doll shifting or trying to move inside the box. Isaac later confirmed that when he checked afterward, there was a doll that wasn't inside its box. And if you're wondering, where did all those dolls come from? It turns out the granddaughter who now owns the property has a deep love for collecting dolls. Over the years, she filled the shed with them, hoping to eventually pass the collection down to her children. But after Isaac posted that video, viewers wanted more proof of what might be happening inside the shed. So they asked him to record another clip, this time from a different angle. Watch this.
And just so you know, because somebody actually said in the video yesterday, of course it happens from behind the camera. That's what's behind the camera, okay? Solid wall. That's what's behind the camera, okay? Okay. I'm out. That wasn't supposed to happen. Maybe I should close the door softer next time. Let's go ahead and try that again. Okay? I'm gonna close it softly this time. Lord have mercy.
Isaac had already left the shed, yet something was moving inside. Some viewers believe the shed could be tied to the trauma of the veteran who once lived there, a place where fear and distress lingered long after he passed away. Others think the dolls themselves may be acting like vessels, objects capable of holding or attracting energy. Despite how uneasy it made him feel, Isaac kept receiving messages asking him to go back to the shed again, with many people claiming the activity probably only happened during the daytime. But that assumption turned out to be wrong. Watch this. This time, whatever might be inside becomes far more active. Objects begin shifting around the room and things scatter across the floor. Some viewers claim they can hear faint breathing sounds in the background, while others believe they hear a voice quietly saying, "Help," or possibly "Let me out," while another sound resembles someone saying, "Get out." Ever since Halloween, Isaac says every single night he hears sounds coming from the shed, noises that suggest something inside is moving things around. So each morning he wakes up to see this. Watch this.
This is what I come into every single day. Y'all ask me why the shed. Look at this, dolls knocked over, turned around. Baseboards moved. Not baseboards, drywall moved, bed knocked over, powder all over the floor. This is what I come into every single day. You guys ask me why is the shed cleaned every single time I walk in here? It's because every single day I wake up, I have to come in and clean it because it's a mess. This is a regular occurrence. So you guys are gonna watch my morning routine. Somebody said lay it like this so you get a wider angle. I have a clip on the back, so there's no way. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. I don't. So let's maybe from here. Oh. Okay, it's about as open as a shot as I can get because I have to. Somebody said they don't have the energy to do this. Man, it's freezing out here. It's like 20-something degrees here in South Carolina, and I'm out here having to yet once again pick all this shit up. God, I'm freezing. Even the foam mattress is solid. Good God Almighty. Back in the days when I used to wrestle, I used to pray for.
While he's sweeping and talking about the temperature in the area, a voice can be heard quietly saying, "Who's there?" Another detail also caught viewers' attention. Many people said that simply looking at that object gave them a strange, uncomfortable feeling. Several viewers even asked Isaac to investigate where it came from and why it was inside the shed in the first place. For now though, Isaac hasn't found any clear explanation, so until more details come out, that shed in the backyard remains a mystery. This next video was recorded by Nate, a man many viewers already recognize because of the strange activity that has been happening inside his home for quite some time now. Recently, people began digging deeper into his past and discovered that he used to work in a cemetery. And ever since that detail came out, some viewers have started linking the disturbances in his house to something he may have unknowingly brought back with him from that job. Whether that connection is real or not is impossible to prove, but the things happening inside his home have definitely kept people talking. One morning, Nate was simply going about his routine when he suddenly heard knocking coming from his back door. At first it sounded normal, like someone politely tapping to get his attention. Naturally, he walked over to check who might be outside, but when he got there, this happened.
So I just thought I heard somebody knocking on my back door, but I looked out there and I saw nothing, so seems like the dog heard it too. Hello? It sounds like it's coming from the back door. It's locked. There's nobody there. What the hell? I don't understand this. What the hell was that? Hello? I don't understand.
The knocking can clearly be heard, yet when Nate enters the kitchen, there's no one standing there. And if you listen carefully in the background of the clip, something else can be heard. A faint whisper that many viewers believe sounds like a woman's voice. This isn't the first time people have pointed out strange voices in Nate's recordings either. In several of his previous videos, viewers claimed to hear quiet murmurs or soft responses when Nate called out into empty rooms. Because of this, some people have started advising him to stop reacting to the activity altogether, saying that acknowledging it might only encourage whatever is causing it. But if we're being honest, that's a lot easier said than done. Imagine hearing someone knock on your door and simply ignoring it, especially when you're already dealing with things like waking up with unexplained scratches on your body, objects suddenly flying across the room, and sharp items being thrown around your home when no one else is there. At that point, curiosity and fear would probably make anyone want to check what's going on. Some viewers believe the whispers might be a form of electronic voice phenomenon, brief sounds that sometimes appear in recordings even when no one is speaking nearby. But considering everything Nate claims has been happening around him, the moment in this clip feels difficult to ignore, whether this is connected to Nate's past work, something attached to the house itself, or something else entirely. For now, the situation remains unresolved. The following footage dates back to 2022 and was captured by a CCTV camera late at night, when the area was supposed to be completely quiet. Take a look. If you focus on the right side of the screen near the gate, you'll notice something unusual. A dark shape suddenly moves and then it disappears just as fast as it appeared. At first glance, many people suggested the most logical explanation: a camera glitch. Security cameras sometimes struggle in low light, especially when there's sudden movement, insects flying close to the lens, or changes in lighting that cause strange shadows to form. And in many cases, those explanations make perfect sense. But then, there are those who take the mystery a little further. Across many ancient cultures, there are stories suggesting that humans may not be the only beings that walk this world. Folklore from different parts of the world often speaks about shadowy figures, entities that appear briefly, moving along the edges of visibility, rarely staying long enough to be clearly seen. Some legends describe them as spirits passing between places. Others believe they could be remnants of something older, something that exists alongside us but rarely crosses fully into our world. Of course, there's no way to confirm anything like that from a single clip, but when a shape appears out of nowhere, moves like something alive, and then vanishes without a trace, it's hard not to wonder what exactly passed by. So was that a glitch, someone's shadow, or something else entirely? I'll leave that one for you to decide. Now in this next video, a man who has openly shared that he lives with severe schizophrenia decided to do something unusual. Because he often experiences things that others can't see, he started recording parts of his home at night, hoping the camera might help him figure out whether what he was seeing were hallucinations or something else entirely. One night, something strange happened and he caught it on camera. Seeing this, the man initially assumes it's just another hallucination, something his mind is creating. In the past, he developed a small trick to test whether something was real or not. Whenever he saw something unusual, he would open and close the drapes or change the lighting in the room, which usually helped make the vision disappear. So he tries the same thing again. He opens and closes the curtains, expecting the movement to stop. But this time, it doesn't. To this day, no one has been able to say with certainty what caused the movement that night. In the following video, a woman was simply recording what should have been a peaceful moment. A waterfall deep in Brazil, surrounded by nature. Nothing unusual, just a calm scene meant to capture the beauty of the place. But her camera caught something else. Watch closely.
Queda d'água. Muita água. Muita força. Uhul! Ih, caraca! Tem uma coisa ali.
viu? Tadinho, você viu o cara no meio da água? Caraca! Ali, mozinho!
For just a brief moment, a dark, shadowy figure appears to rise from within the waterfall itself, before suddenly vanishing back into the rushing falls as if it was never there. Viewers have slowed the footage frame by frame, and the shape is hard to ignore. To this day, no clear explanation has been able to fully account for what was captured. Some believe this could be a jinn, entities said to inhabit wild, untouched places like forests, rivers, and waterfalls, especially in parts of the world where such stories have existed for centuries. Others suggest it may be a duende, a folkloric being often linked to natural environments in South America. There are also those who think it could be something even stranger, a being briefly slipping through from another dimension, visible only for seconds before disappearing. Skeptics argue shadows, water flow, or camera artifacts. But what makes this clip unsettling is how distinct the figure appears and how deliberately it seems to move. So, what do you think this really was? A ghost tied to the land? A jinn drawn to the water? A duende watching from the falls? Or something else entirely? Now, this next video was recorded by a man who's slowly running out of explanations. For weeks, his young son has been insisting that there's someone in the house with them. At first, it was easy to dismiss. A child's imagination, shadows on the wall, toys left in the wrong place. The father brushed it off, telling his son that whatever he thought he was seeing was all in his head. But the claims didn't stop. The boy started talking to empty corners of the room. He'd pause mid-play, stare, and wave as if someone had just passed by. Sometimes he'd laugh, other times he'd go completely quiet, listening to something only he could hear. One night, just as they were about to go to sleep, the boy became visibly unsettled. Have a look.
कहाँ बैठा हुआ है? कौन बैठा हुआ है? यही मैं बाहर चला गया। कौन है? कौन है? कैसा दिखता है? इसको बुलाओ, इधर बुलाओ इसको। बुलाओ इसको। कहाँ क्या है यहाँ पे? कुछ भी तो नहीं है। क्यों अर्थ कर रहा है? मैंने अकेले सोना होता है। मतलब बुलाओ इसको, इससे बात करें। इसको बुलाओ, उसको मुझे बात करनी है तुमसे। है लड़की है लड़का है? ये जिससे बात कर रहे हो, ये लड़की है कि लड़का है?
Watching the footage back, the father still wasn't sure what to make of it. He couldn't see anything obvious, so he shared the video online, hoping that maybe someone else would notice what he couldn't. Because at this point, the situation was starting to bother him, not just because of what his son claimed to see, but because of how consistent those claims had become. Many people say you should never tell a child they're lying when they insist they see something, especially when their fear doesn't fade and their reactions don't change. Some believe children are more sensitive to things adults no longer notice. So what do you see in the video? And more importantly, how should he handle it the next time his son says he's still here? In November 2019, a young man decided to explore an abandoned 22-story building and livestream the experience. At first, everything felt routine. Dark hallways, peeling paint, the usual eerie silence that comes with places long forgotten. But things changed when he reached the 10th floor. As he angled his camera down the stairwell for just a moment, it looked like someone dressed in black was moving up the stairs toward him. Not walking, but climbing at an unnaturally fast pace. Have a look. At first glance, you might think it's just another person, but based on the distance covered in about 7 seconds, that's an extreme speed. Even trained athletes would struggle to move that fast in a confined stairwell. And then there's the sound. As the figure approaches, a low, aggressive growling can be heard in the audio. Later, people claim that his phone was found higher up the stairwell, still recording, even though the man himself was nowhere nearby. Eventually, he was confirmed to be physically safe, but according to those who spoke with him afterward, he was too shaken to give a clear explanation of what happened inside that building. So, what do you think really happened? A terrifying misunderstanding or something far worse? Let me know your thoughts on this one. In this next video, Kyle, someone who's already dealt with one strange incident after another, is still trying to figure out what, if anything, connects all of it. Just when things seemed to calm down and the activity finally stopped, a new puzzle surfaced. Listen closely.
Listen to this and tell me if you hear a kid running around inside my attic. You hear that? Things have been quiet for like weeks now, and then all of a sudden it's just a ruckus in the attic, like constant. Listen. Isn't that wild? It sounds like a kid is running around up there. And I promise I do not have a child in my attic. It's just crazy. Yeah, things have been really quiet lately. I thought maybe it had all stopped. That's why I haven't been posting. But I guess we're back with a vengeance in 2026.
What makes this unsettling is how much it sounds like children running back and forth inside his attic. What makes it worse is the timing. Kyle says he'd finally had several quiet days. No disturbances, no strange sounds, nothing to suggest whatever had been bothering him was still around. He started to believe the activity had passed, that maybe it really was over. And then this happens. Some believe that when things go quiet, it isn't because whatever's there is gone, but because it's waiting. Others speculate that attic spaces often act as focal points, places where sounds manifest more clearly, or where something chooses to stay out of sight. Kyle is hoping this was a one-off incident, but after everything he's already experienced, it's not something he's willing to bet on. Now, in this next clip, Nate is home alone when he notices something peeking out from his basement. At first, it's subtle, easy to dismiss as shadows or his eyes playing tricks on him. But the feeling sticks with him long enough that he decides to grab his camera and record. This is what he captured.
Guys, check it out. Something was peeking. Right out. From the basement. I wanted to see if we can catch it. The end of it. But it was like right by the bed. What the fuck? This has been the third morning in a row. Like clockwork. I might have to look back, but it might be around the same times as well. I don't understand. There's nothing. And then I was hearing steps coming down those stairs, but there's nothing. Guys. I don't know, guys. Maybe we can try. What was that?
Forget whatever was peeking out for a moment. What immediately unsettles viewers is the whispering. Some people claim they can make out words, while others say it's just incoherent murmuring. What makes this harder to ignore is that Nate says the peeking hadn't been a one-time thing. He claims it's been happening almost every morning for several days, always from the same spot. But one night, Nate is home watching a game when he notices the peeking again. This time, it didn't just peek. Watch closely.
Alright guys, please tell me you saw. Whatever keeps peeking out from there. Did it? I'm literally just sitting here watching the game. Wife will be home in about a half hour, so I was just waiting with the pup. And I saw. Nothing. Nothing, like always. Never anything. Nothing down there. Just bags of returnables. And hoodies. What the fuck? Okay. At least it's not a knife, I guess. Jesus Christ.
Now objects are being thrown. The energy feels different, more aggressive, more urgent. But once again, what disturbs people the most is the whispering. Viewers who compared both clips say it sounds like the same voice from the first video. There's a theory circulating online that whatever is in the house may be the spirit of a woman, something trapped, unable to move on, attempting to communicate the only way it knows how. Some believe the whispers aren't meant to frighten, but to get attention. Others strongly disagree, arguing that throwing objects and hiding in shadows isn't a cry for help. It's a warning. But until Nate provides more updates, there's no way to know which interpretation is right. So for now, this case remains unsolved. In the following video, a man believes he's dealing with a mimic, and according to him, whatever it is seems to be getting bolder every time it appears. He says the hardest part isn't just hearing the voices, it's when it chooses to act. Around 3 a.m., watch what happened. This time, the voice sounds exactly like his mother. After this clip surfaced, one question kept coming up again and again, and you may have noticed the pattern too. Why do mimics almost always ask to be let in? Folklore across multiple cultures shares the same idea. Mimics, whether they're thought to be spirits, entities, or something else entirely, aren't believed to have free access. Instead, they rely on invitation. Asking to be let in isn't about manners, it's about permission. Once acknowledged, responded to, or welcomed, they're believed to gain stronger influence, sometimes attaching themselves to a place, a person, or both. That's why the voices often sound familiar, trusted, and safe. because the goal isn't fear, it's consent. As for how people claim to deal with mimics, opinions are split. Some believe the worst thing you can do is respond at all. No talking back, no opening doors, no acknowledging the voice. Others suggest grounding the space by keeping lights on, removing reflective surfaces near doors, or placing physical barriers like salt lines or iron objects, believed in folklore to disrupt whatever is trying to cross over. But many say confrontation is the solution. So the question is, would you open the door or stay silent and hope it goes away? Either way, this is one encounter most people hope they never experience.